Yes, I have started the recording. Can I go ahead?
Yes, yes. It's recording all of this conversation as well, which is not needed.
Okay. So, welcome to CellStrat, and we are going to look into the recommendation systems. As a part of our recommendation systems webinar today, we are going to start with module 1, which is Introduction to the Recommendation Systems. I hope all of you are doing good today, and we will briefly understand what is a recommendation system, why we need a recommendation system, and what are the different strategies involved and has to be looked into before designing the recommendation systems. And finally, how do we build a recommendation system? So this specific module is will give you an idea about all these items that we just spoke about, and as we go further in different modules, we will be explaining in detail of how do we implement all of this in detail. So getting into the introduction of recommendation systems, today we are going to cover in brief the table of contents, such as the needs of a recommendation system, what is a long tail problem that we are currently seeing because of this internet penetration, and what are the recommendation strategies that we generally have to consider, followed by the taxonomy or the classification of recommendation systems, and finally how do we build a recommendation system. That is the steps involved in building a recommendation system, followed by summary and references. Moving on, the needs of a recommendation system, right? So if you look at a brief stats here, we see that the internet as a whole has got unbelievable data in it. For instance, it has got 2.5 quintillion bytes of data, which is an unimaginable number. That is precisely 1 followed by 18 zeros, right? And with the major movies portal that we have on the net, if you want to watch all the movies today, you need at least 47 million years to watch, right, as a person, if you want to watch all the movies. And on an average, some 571 new websites are created every minute. I'm talking about a minute. And with the current subscription to the YouTubers upload 400 hours of video every minute. It's every minute 400 hours of videos are getting uploaded. Considering all these statistics, right, and these statistics are only minimal, right? There are a lot of other statistics as well, which states that the information available in the internet, or the sea of information there and the net, is overwhelming. You precisely don't know which data to pick and which data to consume. For instance, if you want to watch a movie today, and if you go and type in that you want to watch a specific movie, or you want to watch some popular movies, you may have to browse through all the movies which are there in the major portals and have to get an idea, right? And if you leave it like that, we would end up in simply searching the movies and understanding it before even we start watching. That itself may take more than a month or so, right? So to avoid all these things, right, we need to precisely get into what is known as a recommender systems. So the first need for anybody, either from a consumer or from a producer point of view, to have a recommendation system is to ensure that the information overload, or precisely what is called as information glut, does not uh, dictate you from what to watch and what not to watch. It primarily gives you a precise information. The recommendation system is supposed to give you a precise information that can narrow down the information that you wish to watch or which you want to hear. The other one is with the sea of information that is available, you not only need the information, but also you need a relevant information. Note this specific term, uh, the relevant information, the relevance, right? So what exactly is the relevant information? For instance, if you are a job seeker, and if you are applying for a job, the recommender system, right, should recommend you a job which is relevant. For instance, if you are a database warehouse architect, you should be getting jobs related to data warehouse architect and not related to quality assurance. Similarly, if you are looking for some information related to Donald Trump, you should be getting information related to Donald Trump and not related to Xi Jinping or other leaders, right? So the information that what you have to get should be very relevant, and relevant recommender systems are there to help you deliver the relevant information. So with the twin objectives of ensuring that you do not get caught in the information glut or information overload, and also to make sure that you get a relevant information so that you act on it, are the primary objectives why we need a recommendation system, right? You with the recommendation system, what becomes easier is the decision making. If you have a lot of choices with you, right, your decision making will really become a challenge and tougher owing to the overwhelming choices, right? For instance, do you want to go this way, do you want to go that way, which will be right, which will be wrong? There is already someone who is working out that for you in the background and getting you a relevant information that helps you to narrow down what decision you want to take. So you need not be intimidated by the amount of information that you are going to get. Rather, you have some assistant who can actually help you making the right decisions, right? So the recommendation system really helps you to make a nice and a relevant and a quick decisions with the sea of information out there. Now, when we are talking about recommendation, right, it is not something which is new or which has come after the internet has come, or which has penetrated a lot after the machine learning has come. It is not, because time immemorial, the recommendations are always there, and a dictionary definition of a recommendation states that the recommendation is actually a suggestion or a proposal as to the best course of action, especially one put forward by an authoritative body, right? Uh, so traditionally, if you see, the recommendations are provided by an expert person, what we refer as expert based recommendations, or by a governing body who are authorized to give some right recommendations, right? But with the advent of the internet and social media, it has undergone a big change, wherein rather than being an expert driven recommendation, we are moving from expert to popular based recommendation, where you will see most top popular items, most purchased items, most popular movies, to a personal recommendation where the recommender systems understands you as a person, right? It understands your emotions, your attributes, what you like, what you don't like. It understands everything and gives you a personalized recommendations. So the recommendation systems has actually undergone a very big change in terms of how the recommendation should happen, right? So you actually feel that whatever recommendations that are coming to you, or whatever information that you are getting to you, is actually customized to what you are looking for, right? So that is what is meant by the evaluation of recommendation. Simply, the recommendation has evolved from an expert based model to popular based in add to a personalized mode. So right now we would see in any site that you go or anywhere you try to get an information, you might be getting all these three kinds of recommendations, that is expert based or popular based or personalized, depending upon how the recommender systems are designed to give you the recommendations. Okay, I hope you are clear with the needs why we need a recommendation. Continuing, right, as I said, the recommendation actually helps two kinds of people. One is the providers or the publishers who give you the information. Next one are the consumers who actually consume the information or actually looking for the information, right? So how is it helping the consumers? When you say consumers, it's like people like you and me who go and try to buy an item from an Amazon, or we go and not log into Netflix and try to watch a movie, or we simply search for a query in Google. So we are all consumers from that perspective. So who are all providers? Providers are the folks from the Amazon who actually deliver you the information, or the Netflix experts who actually give you the movies, or the Google which actually gives you the query results, right? So those are the providers. Now, from consumers perspective, as we spoke, right, we have an information glut. There is too much of information. A simple example is the other day I walked into Starbucks, okay, and I just wanted to have a cappuccino. Now, when I asked for a simple cappuccino coffee to drink, I was given different flavors. For instance, I was asked whether I need vanilla or caramel, cinnamon rolls, hazelnut, toffee nut, peppermint, raspberry, classic, mocha, white mocha, gingerbread, caramel, flan, peach, blackberry. And that's not the only flavors. I mean, that's just the flavors. There are also other things that we get to add on that are toppings such as cinnamon powder, chocolate powder, vanilla powder, caramel, chocolate, whipped cream, marshmallow, sea salt, caramel brulee. So with so many different toppings available and so many different ways that how the cappuccino can be made, I was really split. There was really a tough time for me to decide which cappuccino to want or whether I really need to take a cappuccino or not, right? So that is nothing but an information glut where you are provided with too many choices or too much of information out there. So the only way that I can get a relevant choice to make, or I can be able to know which coffee to drink, is to know actually which is relevant for me, and what is the kind of information that I am looking for, and what is that I really want to drink. So the recommender system really filters out all the unwanted things which I really don't need and gives me a right relevance. And even from a provider's perspective, for instance, Amazon or Netflix, it helps them to give you a right product so that you are ready to buy and increase their sales and profit, right? A recommender system at this point of time is really becoming a key in every site. It can either make or break. For instance, providing a wrong recommendation can really lead to loss in the sales, and providing a right recommendation can help in kickstarting the sales. So since recommendation system plays a key role for both consumers and providers, there is a keen importance being given to ensure that there are right recommender systems are implemented so that consumers are happy in terms of getting the relevant answers, and providers are happy in making the right sales or higher sales. So as we move on, we will see that how these recommender systems are strategized designed, and what are the different factors that we really have to consider, that a provider or a consumer has to consider before taking the choices from the recommendation system, or before designing a recommendation system. Okay, moving on, right? What I'm showing you in the graph here is a long tail distribution. This is a little bit of a statistical concepts. Let me try to explain you, which has become more common owing to the abundance of sites which are trying to sell various products. Okay, so I hope you all are aware of a distribution. In a statistical distribution, if you see, a normal distribution goes like this, wherein a maximum set of this is a normal distribution where a maximum proportion is actually distributed in the peak. For instance, if you take an IQ of the people, right, majority of the folks may have a similar IQ with a little bit of variance. So if you see a normal distribution, most of the data points would lie around 65% might lie around 1 sigma, 1 variance, 1 standard deviation, and within 2 standard deviation you may get around 95%, and 99% of all data will be there within 3 sigma, which is 3 standard deviation, right? This is how a normal distribution looks. Now a new coin has been termed ever since Amazon and other sites started selling huge volume of products, which is a long tail, right? So what exactly is a tail? What you see here is a tail, right? So as I said, in normal distribution, all the distributions occur within a 3 standard deviation, right? Most of the 99%. But in a long tail distribution, any data point you take will follow this specific model, where the tail will keep on going like this, right? It means majority of the distributions are, in terms of frequency, low occurrence, okay, but the number of occurrences in the low frequency are more, right? So take for instance income distribution, right? The proportion of people having a high income will only be less, okay, but around 70 to 80%, 70% of the people may be earning a less amount of money, right? So but they are in lots. So do you want to target the people in who are earning high income, or do you want to target the 70% of the people who are earning less, right? It's a typical income distribution. So the long tail, this is what is called as a long tail. And if you see a traditional brick and mortar company, traditional brick and mortar stores, right? Or if you walk into any supermarket, you would actually be focusing on, or the stores would actually focus on providing you the items which are most popular, right? They will be having only limited infrastructure, maybe for 1,000 square feet or 2,000 square feet, where they need to stock all the items. Every inch of space matters to them in what items can be stored. So they want to sell only the items which are popular, so that people come, buy, pick up and move on, right? Now with the internet, with the arrival of companies such as Amazon and others who are trying to sell products, that real estate space is totally gone, right? You don't really have to worry about the real estate. Rather, you have abundance of internet space with you, which you can utilize to sell all kind of items, right? So with that constraint gone, you really need to focus on how to make these products. For instance, if there are books that you want to search for, there could be some thousands of books for the same title that you're looking for, right? You don't, the Amazon, the companies such as Amazon or other internet sites should not only try to maximize this, but they should also try to maximize this particular portion where they want to sell the less popular books, right? But they want to sell all of them in lots of quantities, mainly because there is no constraint for them to sell only the most popular products. Now we are getting a lot of real choices to sell all these non-popular products or niche products, right? So that people can go ahead and buy. They are not only constrained with people are not constrained only with the most popular, but you can also make them buy the less popular products by giving them right showcasing. So why am I explaining all these long tail, and why we want to make sure that people buy even the less popular products, right? Because only 20% of the books or even 20% of movies will be popular, remaining 80% will not be, right? But they can still be shooting to the audience taste, and that is where the recommendation system plays a key role. The recommender systems understand the tastes of the people and can start recommending products from this category, right? So that audience will get a taste. Now, to give you a simple example, earlier in India, if you see, people would mostly go for Samsung phones or the most popular phones such as Nokia and all, right? With the advent of Chinese mobiles such as Vivo, Oppo and all, they all follow this long tail distribution where they are not so popular initially, but they were available in cheaper prices and a lot of those are available quickly. So the sites were able to make them very popular, and most of the Chinese mobiles were an instant hit now in Indian market. So that's a traditional example of a long tail distribution, how it has succeeded, and how the internet has really made these long tail distribution products, the products which are in the long tail, to be sold. Now, that is simply the long tail problem. How do you sell unpopular products? And to make this and to sell those unpopular products or new products which are not popular, you really have to get into a good recommender system that understands the taste of the customer. Now, as I said, this long tail distribution or the sales of this not so popular products are made feasible mainly because the internet companies don't have to worry about the inventory storage, and we don't have to worry about the distribution costs. And from our consumer side, we really have a good search engine such as Google or Bing that helps us to give us the relevant products, which are not only the popular products, but also the products which are suited to our taste. And an inbuilt recommendation tools which are available in every site, almost all the sites, to give you a nice products which are suitable, customized to your taste, and not only have to, and not just the most popular one, right? And a simple statistics says that almost 57% of items which are sold in Amazon right now are from long tail products. So you can really understand the key role that this long tail is facing, and the importance that long tail is getting now, and why recommender systems are even more important as we go further. Okay, moving on. There are different, so implementing a recommendation system, right, is not so easy. Like you recommend this product, the customer will buy. You recommend X product, the customer will buy. No, there are a lot of different things that a provider has to look into before even getting into, before even starting designing the recommendation strategy, right? So what are recommendation strategies? Recommender strategies are nothing but the strategies or the ideas which the recommendation system has to consider before even it starts making any recommendations to the end customer, right? So at this point of time, I wanted to tell one big difference, which is commercial, right? You all know a commercial or an advertisement, right? Is it same as recommendation? No, it is not. A commercial or an advertisement is totally different from a recommendation. So why do you think it is? Because a commercial or an advertisement just focuses only on selling the product irrespective of the taste of the customer. For instance, you might be getting a lot of advertisements on the TV when you are watching probably an IPL, right? Not everything is relevant to you, right? But some of them may really be. For instance, a Domino's pizza ad in the middle of IPL, yes, good, because you can watch the pizzas and watch the cricket, right? You don't have to cook. That seems to be a relevant one. But there could be some other advertisements, right, which could not really be a relevant one for you. For instance, you might have seen certain ads such as Woodward's grape water, which has been ever since I was born, or even before I was born, right? The concept remains the same. The baby has some stomach pains. They ask you to give Woodward's grape water. The concept has never really changed, right? It is because the commercial is focused only on selling that grape water for the specific purpose. Whereas if you need to look into a recommendation system, it can never be really be static. It has to evolve dynamically. So the first thing that anybody who wants to design a recommendation system, the first strategy that should ever consider is the mindset of a commercial should go, because a commercial focus only on mostly on receiver side to pass on the information and convey the information. Rather, the recommendation strategy should dynamically evolve with various different things. Some of the things which are highlighted here will give you an idea what are the things that has to be considered. For instance, season, right? Now, what season are we in? Irrespective of summer or winter or autumn, we are all stuck with COVID, right? So we are in a COVID season. Now, what I have shown you here is a recommendation strategy used by Amazon to recommend the products, which is a seasonal recommendation. So the recommendation strategy captures the seasonal variations. Since we are in COVID, right? See what it is recommending me: a mask, it recommended me a face shield, it recommends me sanitizer, right? Had it not been COVID, right, it wouldn't have really recommended all these items, right? So it looks for the seasonal variations, and it can also be extended. For instance, if it is summer, it might recommend you the cotton cloths. If it is winter, it will recommend you woolen cloths, sweaters, right? It has to look for a seasonal variations. And the next important thing is timing. Timing is very much important as far as the recommender systems are considered. For instance, if you what the recommenders, what screenshot that I have pasted here is a recommendation from Amazon, which is available for me only in the first 7 days of month, because Amazon knows that I would buy groceries or I would shop for groceries only mostly in the beginning of the month. So it looks for the specific time and does this kind of a recommendation so that I can go ahead and buy, right? Had it been a different month and the time, maybe in the middle of a month or end of the month, I wouldn't have even looked into, right? It knows that for sure I would buy only in the beginning of the month. Also, the other example is, right, in weekdays, Netflix may not recommend you a binge watch because you hardly get any time. But in the weekends, definitely it assumes you have a lot of time, so it recommends for binge watching of a web series or movies, right? So the capturing the time is essential, because recommending wrong things at a wrong time, for instance, recommending a binge watching series on a weekdays and recommending a normal single movies or a series on a weekends may really not give relevant results either to Netflix or to us, right? So the timings are crucial as far as the recommendations are considered. Now, are these the only strategies that a recommender system has to think of? No, there are lots and lots more, right? So the next one that we are going to see are the festival seasons, right? In India, we have festivals throughout, and even the festivals vary every month, right? I mean, some parts of the country have festivals in a specific time, and some parts will not have. So the recommender system should be intelligent enough to actually capture that information as well and recommend you accordingly. For instance, Onam came recently, for which I got recommendation for Onam related items to buy, right? And there are also certain items, for instance, cart which I bought, based on which it actually suggested me some other items such as dining tables and other things which are required for home setup, because it assumes that I'm doing a home setup, right? And the other side, what you see here is a Netflix system which does a lot of different recommendations. And what you would also see an interesting information, right? In some cases, you would also see that it gives you a matching percentage. For instance, the algorithm thinks that a specific recommendation may be of 90 percentage match to you, or 95 percentage, or 96 percentage. So that prediction percentage is also computed and shown to you if you look into the sites very keenly, right? Now, is it fine that it finds you all the items that it needs to recommend to you and displays it? Can I find some 1,000 items, right, which are relevant to you, and simply recommend that? Will you buy? So if I have some 1,000 items, or if I say that I get 500 items which are of importance to you, and can I recommend that? Will you simply really buy? No, right? Because you may not really be interested in buying all those items, right? So what it does is it actually orders the recommendation based on the relevancy. As I said, um, if you want to watch a movie, a romantic movie, right? There could be some 1,000 romantic movies available. So but it is not necessary that you watch all those romantic movies, right? So it gives you a ranking. Say, for instance, the rank 1 is the one which gets first displayed, will be of 100% relevant to you. Rank 2 may be of 99%, rank 3 may be of 98%, and goes on, right? So this ranking is also very important, because nowadays people hardly spend 3 to 4 seconds before making any decisions, right? In order to ensure that you not only watch the ranked one item, but also ensures that you take a note of what all the items that the recommender systems thinks that you are relevant. A ranking is also specified, and only the top 5 ranks, or top 6 ranks, or top 10 ranks, depending on what is relevant or what the customer wishes, will be recommended, right? So a recommender design is very complex, in the sense it has to look into the various seasonal variations, time specific, context specific, festival, your choices, um, based on your past history, then the rankings which you think is relevant. Considering all these factors, you actually get a recommendation. So it is not a simple job to design a recommender strategy, rather a more and more complex job to actually take into consideration all the different factors. Now, whatever factors I have listed may be less. There could be even more and more factors that in general a recommender system will look. But nevertheless, a design of a recommender system will always be very complex, considering that it has to take into consideration a lot of different factors, and it actually helps to make or break the sales for the providers and also fetches the right information to the consumers. Okay, moving on.
Hello, audience. So feel free to ask any questions. You are all unmuted.
Okay, moving on. So taxonomy, right? So now what we are going to look into is taxonomy of the recommender systems. So you would have heard this term probably in your schools or probably in your undergrad, where a taxonomy stands for classification, right? You would have studied the plants and animals, the way how they are classified in terms of their behavior, in terms of the way how they organize, right? So those are all commonly referred to as taxonomy, and even recommender systems have taxonomy, in the sense there are different things or attributes which a recommender system should possess, based on which the recommender systems will actually be uh, designed. So what are the things in general is considered for designing a recommender system? The first thing which comes is a domain. So what is exactly a domain? The domain is nothing but the type of content that is being recommended, right? For instance, domain in terms of recommender system is the kind of item that you watch or that you purchase or that you are trying to get some information from. For instance, if you are watching movies, then movie is your domain. If you're trying to purchase books, then books will be your domain. If you're trying to purchase clothes, then clothes will be your domain. So there are different domains which are there, uh, that can be utilized, which will be offered by the sites in order to help you make purchase. Now there are certain sites which deal with only one domain, and majority of the sites deal with many domains. For instance, sites such as Amazon would sell you everything ranging from books to movies to clothes, whereas sites such as Netflix focus only on specific domains such as movies, right? Now, in order for a recommender system to help you recommend good relevant results, right, as I told you, it needs to understand you, but there is there is always a chance that you are a new user for any site and recommender system does not have any information about you, right? Or it doesn't have any details about you. So without having any knowledge about you, how it can do a recommendation, right? So there is one way to do a recommendation is most popular product recommendation or top purchased item recommendation, which are not really a personalized recommendations to you, but it is more or less like a most popular or expert based recommendations that can be still used. Or if there is an information knowledge about you with respect to a specific domain, for instance, if a site knows that you are interested in watching or buying horror movies, right? Or if you are interested in watching sitcom movies, right? It makes an idea about you and utilizes the same thing and utilizes that same knowledge to recommend you in a different domain. For instance, if you have been watching only the or if you have been buying only the sitcom movies in Amazon site, then it will actually recommend you books related to probably humor or comedies, right? Those sort of books, the site will go ahead and recommend. So it is nothing but acquiring the knowledge in a specific domain, which is a movie domain, and using that as an input to recommend you in another domain, which is called as a cross domain. So typically there are two terms which are used. So typically the recommender system works in two different domains. One is using the recommendations and use it to recommend in the same domain, or uh, using that information and recommend you MC. Purpose. The purpose is the reason why a recommendation really exists. As we discussed earlier, um, there are the recommendation exists for two set of users. One is the provider, who are sites who helps to maximize the sales or profit, and for us, the consumers who wants to make a right decisions or choosing a right products, right? Mm. So the recommendation system serves those two purposes for different class of users. Now, coming again to the other set of taxonomy, which is context and personalization levels, right? As I said, recommender systems should watch keenly on the kind of context which is happening over there and provide recommendations. For instance, we all know at this COVID situation, we do a work from home. So you can see that the site is intelligent enough to detect that we all do a work from home and recommends accessories to help you do a work from home setup, right? So the important contexts that a recommendation system should focus on are the time. Probably when we say time, is it like daytime, afternoon, or nighttime? For instance, you would see mostly in the music sites, if you're listening to songs, right? You may want to start the day with a rocking song, and then you may want a soothing song at the end of the day, right? A recommender system should recommend you the right kind of music at the right time, because if it recommends a soothing song in the morning, then you might go for sleep in the morning, right? It is not what we want. So it has to take into consideration the time and the sentiment, right? One example I can say is, um, last month or so, we saw that there was a bit of clashes in the border, and there was an anti-China sentiment which was there, right? At that point of time, the recommender system should be shrewd enough to recommend products which are not made in China rather than the products which are made in China, right? So those is a kind of a sentiment, because it might backfire if you do, or if you go for a wrong sentiment. And when we go say occasion is nothing but the things such as festivals, the seasonal variations such as summer, winter. So all those have to be considered, right? Before it even before it even makes a decision. Now, for any new person, right, for a new user, when we don't know anything about a user, the most safest things to do is to do a non-personalized recommendation, which has been there time immemorial. The most popular websites or the most popular items, the top purchased items, the most viewed items, all those fall under non-personalized recommendations, where there is no personalization, but still go with a group. Say for instance, it naturally draws our attention. If some product is most popular, you might tend to get attracted and you go for it, right? And you go and buy it. So a non-personalized recommendation does work in some ways when it doesn't know the information about the user who is trying to make purchases or trying to watch movies. And you can and the recommender system can personalize to a certain extent, though not completely, by means of semi-personalized ways. For instance, based on the age, based on the gender, based on the demography, right? It can make suitable recommendations, right? So we would have all seen this in the sites, age-specific recommendations, where for kids it might recommend kids-related clothes, and for adults it might recommend the adult-related clothes. And even the choices would vary most for the gender, though male gender may have less recommendations and female gender definitely would get a lot of recommendations, which recommender system will definitely have the mechanism for it. And it also goes by the demography, right, and by the preferences. So it can group a user into different segments and can provide you the relevant recommendations, which is not a personalized one, neither a non-personalized nor a personalized, but a semi-personalized, where it gives you relevant results according to the group to which you belong to. Okay. Moving on, as I said, we used to get a lot of expert advices before the advent of internets and before the advent of social media. Now also we do get expert advice because people do pay key attention to the experts, the industry experts. Let us say if they come and recommend, if some top shot from an organization come and says that our next year is going to be like this, so we have to go with this. So there is a keen importance being given to the experts as well, so which is called as an expert advice. So at this point in time, because of so many users using the internet and social media, right, the advices from the mass, from the people, are considered more valuable than expert advice, though it depends it depends on the context. For instance, if you're going for purchase of a clothes, you might go with the people's advice rather than expert advice. But if you're going for any medical treatments or anything like that, or if you're looking for health recommender systems, mostly people would go with experts who are doctors, right? And when you're talking about what is trending, this has been made very famous after the advent of social networks, where we get to know on a daily basis what is the top trending, what are the top trending items, what are top 5 trendings, right? So this does give us a real or a valuable information, which we know that what most people are watching, or what people are purchasing, or what most people are viewing, and we can make our decisions based on that. So recommendation systems do have to consider the opinions. This is called as opinions, and whether the opinions of experts or whether the opinions of masses, or they can both be considered together. Now the other thing, right, which is the most critical thing, is the interface. The interface actually decides you the kind of recommendations that have to make. For instance, if you go to a site and make a purchase, right, sometimes you would see an explicit feedback which is being requested by the site, so as to know whether your experience is good, bad. So you would either see a scale like this, right, where you can tick excellent, very good, good, or you can rate it, or you may see a like or dislike button, which is very common, right? These are all come under a category known as explicit feedback. Okay, so explicit feedbacks requests user to give a feedback about your views, about your purchases, even the content that you share, right? The content that you share is also considered as an explicit feedback, because only if you like a content you will share it. The content that you retweet, right, tweet, right, all those are considered as an explicit feedback. And if you write any reviews for a product, right, the reviews may be positive or negative, but this is an explicit feedback. So these are all explicit feedbacks that you can give, which will be considered for the recommender system. Or or we can also, the recommender system also considers the implicit feedback, right, or a mix of both. So what is implicit feedback, and what is implicit feedback? Implicit feedback is nothing but you don't give any feedback as such, but the system finds the taste of you, or the system understands you based on the interactions. For instance, if you go and browse about a specific color or a specific style in a site, right, for instance, you view only red color shirts, or you view only red color trousers, and you look for only like bell bottom pants, or you look for specific kind of styles in your shoes, right? And if you view that for a long time, or if you make purchase about those kind of styles, right, the system really understands that you look, or you are oriented more towards those kind of style. For instance, it understands that you like red color, it understands that you like bell bottom pants, it understands like that you like Ray-Ban glasses, right? So it classifies, it understands the tastes or your preferences, and design a profile for you, right? And based on which it will start making recommendations. So one of the things which I have posted here is a site. If you go and read a news, right, you might not read all the news in the site, but you might read about specific news. So here, if you here, let us say if I read about Donald Trump and Boris Johnson related news, right, it understands that you are interested more in politics, right? Then it starts recommending about the other politics related news, such as North Korea, congressional report, US starvation. So it really makes or judges you based on the interactions that you are having with the system, and takes that as a feedback, which is not an explicit but implicit feedback, and provides you the relevant recommendations. So these are the two kind of inputs which it really considers before coming up with any recommendations. And we all have cookies in our system. So cookies play a key role for implicit feedback, right? Because cookies store all your preferences, your browsing history, everything. So all those things are considered to come up with the profile about you, and that is what is considered for implicit feedback. Okay, moving on. Okay. So we spoke about input, right? The way how input is provided to the recommendation system so that they can make certain recommendations. Now, what will be the output of recommendations? We all know that a recommender system output what you really want to purchase or what you really want to view, right? But is it the only thing that recommendation systems output? No, there are certain things which are there in the recommendation systems which may not be very obvious. The first thing is prediction, right? So what is really a prediction, right? There is a difference between prediction and recommendation, which we all have to understand. So if you are getting an item as a recommendation from the system, is it really a prediction or a recommendation? So for that, for us to understand that, you may need to look into the specific diagram, right? So what implicitly the system does, as I said earlier, is it makes a decision about you, right? Saying that you might like a specific style, you might like a specific color, you might like a specific branch. Accordingly, it makes a prediction, right? So here we have two consumers who are actually browsing a site to make a purchase. One is Andrea, the other one is Steve. So based on the history, both are seasonal users. Based on the history of their behavior, right? There is a predicted value for each of them, which means that the system predicts that Steve might purchase accessories which are worth $123, and Andrea might purchase accessories which are worth $55. Okay, could be accessories or clothes or anything. So given that the system makes this prediction, it should make right or relevant recommendations. Okay, for instance, if it makes a prediction that the Steve's purchase is going to be an $123 range, and if it recommends probably around $50 item, right? If it recommends a $50 item, then it would be a loss because Steve might really be interested in purchasing around $120 range. Whereas if for Andrea, since the predicted purchase value for her is $55, and if you are making a recommendation worth $150 or $200, right, you might really lose in sales because Andrea's budget is only going to be this based on the purchase history. So this is a prediction, right, and this is a recommendation. So this is the difference between prediction and recommendation, because prediction makes a quantitative statement about the likelihood about that you take a future action, whereas recommendation focuses on what we are going to actually make purchase on. So prediction is an input for a recommendation, and a prediction is very important because if you make a wrong prediction, your recommendation will also be wrong. So a recommendation system first makes a right prediction based on which a right recommendation is done. And the next thing is about filtering. When I say filtering, we spoke about the relevance, right? Though there are like 1,000, 100, 500 to 1,000 items which you feel that you can recommend, but you still have to order them based on the relevance, rank them, and can to display only those filtered top 10 or 15 items, depending on the widget size. You would have also observed that in terms of recommendations, there are black box and white box recommendations, because when you say black box, we really don't know why this, from a consumer perspective, we really don't know why this recommendation has come, right? But if it is a white box recommendation, the system will tell you why it is doing a recommendation. For instance, because you watched, you would have seen the statements, because you liked, right? Because you liked, or because you viewed, because you purchased, right? You would get some recommendations. Those are all actually white box recommendations, because from consumers perspective, I am able to understand why that recommendation is coming. But certain items are recommended without any of these statements, in which case you will not understand really why that recommendation is coming. Those are called black box recommendations. So a recommender system implements both black box and white box recommendations, right? It does everything so that you get a comprehensive recommendation on all the items that you're looking to purchase or view. In the next section, we are going to talk about the algorithms that are mainly used, the kind of algorithms that are used to design the recommendations. So there are different algorithms available in the market to make nice or fine recommendations, but primarily they are categorized into three different items. One is collaborative filtering, the other one is content-based filtering or recommendation, the third one is hybrid based recommendations. So when we talk about, let us talk briefly about these recommendations algorithms. First thing is collaborative algorithms. So collaborative algorithm actually understands the user behavior based on the browsing history, based on your past purchases, based on your previous interactions, based on what you viewed, based on what you liked, based on what you disliked. It takes into all those into considerations, the user behaviors, and come up with a kind of matrix to say that which you like, what you don't like, and give you a recommendation, which is called as collaborative filtering, nothing but a collaboration between user and the system, right? An example for this is let us say this person reads a content and the same content is read by another person, right? So the system will deduce that both belong to a same kind of profile or both may have the same set of uh, uh, taste preference, so it would recommend an article which they both like, right? So similarly, if you go for a content-based filtering, right? Content-based algorithm doesn't look primarily on the user behavior, right? Rather, the attributes of the content. For instance, if you watch a movie, right, in a Netflix, the movie itself has got a lot of different attributes in terms of, for instance, the actors, the actress, the directors, right? So if you keep watching movies which are by Christopher Nolan or by Spielberg, it might understand that you might really be interested in a fiction kind of a movie, and may look into and may recommend you the movies which are more or less fiction related, right? So it will look for the same kind of attributes. So any item will be having a lot of different attributes, either it is books, either it is movies, or either the items that you purchased. All of them will have got different attributes, and if you like one item and if there are other items which have got similar attributes, the system will start recommending the same. So in this case, an article is read by the user. Let us say if it is a political article or a sports related article, then the system will recommend you again a political article or a sports related article, simply because you have read an article which has got similar attributes. So this is a content based algorithm. Now in majority of the cases, right, it actually mixes both, because you get right results only when you, or you get a comprehensive results or right recommendations only if you are able to mix both collaborative filtering and content based filtering, because collaborative filtering will tell you more about the users preference, their taste and everything, and you can customize based on that. And content based will tell you how to identify an articles or relevant items based on the attributes that you have already made, purchased or viewed. So combining these two will give you a comprehensive results, right? And that is being utilized by the hybrid algorithms, wherein they take into consideration both collaborative and content based algorithms mixes, take the recommendations which come from you and use that as an output, which is known as a hybrid based recommendation. So if you see here, a person who is trying to view has expressed an interest in a specific item and also has rated different items, right? And both are considered and used as a recommendation for hybrid recommendation algorithm.
Hey, I have a question here.
Yes, please.
Hey, the content-based and collaborative filtering. See, in both the cases, user is like
Sorry, I lost your audio.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear.
Yeah. No, I was asking, in content based also, we are saying user likes certain characteristics of the item or product. If he is reading certain articles, say about politics, so that is what we are calling as a collaborative filtering, right? Based on the user's past likes or preferences. Am I right?
Correct.
And in the content based also, again,
Hmm.
it is, what type of article it is. The same thing I'm just flipping around and saying, if there are a given set of articles, okay, one of them is belongs to politics, so you go and recommend to that particular user. So I'm only thinking that you are looking in the collaborative filtering, you are looking from the user side, but again you are considering the say in this case, in the example I quoted, articles attribute called which category it belongs to, maybe politics. The content based also we are looking at the that articles characteristic there. So I'm not able to find the exact difference. It's only that
Okay.
the way we are viewing is different, isn't it so?
That's a very good question, actually. The question is primarily both collaborative and content-based looks more or less similar, because one looks more from attribute perspective, other looks more from similar user perspective, but more or less look similar, right? What exactly is the
Right.
difference, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me give you an example, right? Let us say a user is interested in politics, okay? And a user is interested in, let us say, Indian politics and not necessarily US politics, okay?
Okay.
Now, in a content-based filtering, if I read an article related to politics, right, it may recommend me both Indian politics and US politics articles, okay?
Okay.
Because the system doesn't really know that the user doesn't like US politics, okay? It simply gives you a recommendation to read all politics related articles irrespective of the geographies. Now if you
Okay.
add collaborative filtering to that, right, it really knows that yes, you do like politics, you do like Indian politics, but you don't really like US politics because this user is not interested. So it filters out those content and recommends you only that Indian politics related articles,
Okay.
right? So the
Okay. Yeah.
user preference is not primarily considered when we go for content based filtering, whereas it plays a key role when we go for a collaborative filtering.
Okay. Got it. So even in the content based also, we are still considering the user's choice, correct? First of all, say based on the articles or articles or any items characteristics. First of all, you are filtering based on certain characteristic of the item, and again we are seeing whether user likes it or not. That is there in
Yeah,
content based or not there.
let me augment that. So in one cases you are comparing users, in second cases you are comparing products they are viewing. They are two different things. Okay, let's not mix them up. So if I like clothes, they will show me more clothes. But if I like clothes, but my friend also likes clothes, if I like clothes, they will show clothes to my friends also. So in one case we are comparing the products. In second case we are comparing the people. Two different things. I hope that is clear. So if I am buying, if women are buying more clothing, then they believe other women will also buy more clothing. But if women are buying, let's say, Indian dresses, if a particular woman is buying an Indian dress, so they think that this woman will buy more Indian dress. So in one case they are comparing products, in second case they are comparing user profiles, two different things. Okay, I hope that makes it clear. In the diagram also it is showing there similar users versus similar articles. I think the difference is very clear there.
Okay. So you are saying the first case it essentially goes by similar users.
Yes, precisely correct. So if Amazon will check that I am a user from India all the time buying books, So if they find another user from India, they will recommend books to that user. But the second situation is, if I am buying books on Amazon all the time, then Amazon will think, okay, I am likely to buy more books. So books to books comparison versus user to user comparison, two different items.
Okay.
They lead to the same net effect, trying to drive more sales, but the comparison metrics is different. In one case, you compare people profile. In second case, you compare content or product profile. The effect is same final effect. You will be given more personalized recommendation. I hope that is clear.
Yeah, thank you. Got it.
Okay. Moving on. So we have seen all the prerequisites for building a recommendation system, right? For instance, we know what are the things that we need to look into. We know that we need different strategies. We know we need what is the domain, what are the purpose of the recommendation system, and what are the algorithms that we need to use. Now, the final set is how do you build a recommender system with all these inputs, right? So it all there is now one or right way to do it. There are many different ways to do it. This is a simple high-level diagram to actually say you how you build a recommender system. Right. The step one is to start with an idea. Right. Idea is nothing but from provider's perspective, it is like to sell you more. It could be like either items or if you're considering it in from a Netflix domain, you may have the idea is to make users watch more movies, or if you're thinking about YouTube system, they want you to watch more videos. So basically the idea is to sell more of items that you are providing, right? Either in terms of time or in terms of money, it's selling more and more of that. Now, when it comes to once you decided on the idea, right, of a recommender system, what you need next is the customer, right? You need a lot of data from the customer, right? So the data can be collected either by implicit or by explicit means. So you may need to provide them the right interface to collect all the data that is required for you to build a recommender system, right? And once you start collating the data, right, either could be from the same domain or from cross domain that we earlier spoke on, we actually would choose the algorithms, right? We would employ the right algorithms to decide. Algorithms, as I said, it mostly we use hybrid algorithm, but though it depends really on the provider which algorithms to use. Either it is a collaborative or content based or a mixture of both. Actually, in fact, algorithms are not even limited to that. We also have graph based, we have knowledge based. Those are more in-depth algorithms as well available, but all of them can be categorized under either content based or collaborative based or a hybrid based. Now, once you decide on algorithms and you implement the algorithms, right, what you would end up is developing a model with all these input, which is the data and the combination of algorithms. We would really be ending up with a model, right? And this model, we may need to see how best to deploy this model into the production. Before it makes real-time recommendations, we need to make sure that the model actually does right recommendations. For that, we actually do go for an offline testing. Offline testing is nothing but with the existing sample of data that you have right now. Let me name it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With the existing sample of data that you are available, you actually feed in the data and see whether it is making relevant recommendations. And once you see that the right recommendations are done, or if you have certain metrics to measure, for instance, accuracy or any other factors that you consider to measure the performance of the model, and you feel that the model is performing well, you can deploy it into the site or the system, and use it for start making recommendations, right? So this is where you would actually start getting the inputs from real users. Once you start deploying it in the site or a production site, you would start incorporating the customer data real time and start making recommendations as an output, right? So here you may either go for a beta launch if you feel that you still need more testing, or if you are comfortable enough, you can go for a full launch to the customers. So this is more or less like how you build how you acquire the data, build the model using the algorithms, train, validate, and then deploy to the production like a machine learning model. So you more or less follow the same things. Only thing, you might either go for full-fledged deployment or a beta launch, depending on how big, how good or relevant the recommendations are. Because the one thing is, recommender systems have to consider a holistic perspective of the users, and since it plays a key role in either making or breaking the sales, the providers will be cautious enough to deploy the recommendation systems to ensure that relevant recommendations are made before we make it very full-fledged recommendations. Okay. So in summary, what we covered so far are the recommender systems, but to summarize what we have seen till now, a recommender system is nothing but a mixture of different components and methods. As we saw, it includes strategies, it includes the feedback, it includes algorithms. So a recommender system has to consider a lot of different items before we start making recommendations. And an advertisement or a prediction or a commercial is different from a recommendation. As I said, a recommendation has to evolve dynamically, and a prediction will feed as an input to a recommendation, and a commercial or an advertisement is actually made to sell items from mostly from provider perspective, irrespective of the consumer's taste. Most important thing is, since the recommender systems collects data from individual customers, right? The privacy or trustworthiness must be retained, because if you collect data for your own recommender systems and if you use it to start recommending some other systems, for instance, if you collect data for healthcare and the recommender system say gives the data to an insurance company to make sales, that is really a misuse, right? Unless the customer really agrees for that kind of data sharing. So the personal details should never be misused. And other thing is, a site like Amazon, right, sells content from different vendors, right? So there should not be any bias towards any vendors or items. For instance, there should not be any recommendation specific to a specific brand or a product unless the user really prefers it. Just because you get a higher commission or you can make higher deals with them, a site should not recommend or should not show any bias towards the vendors. This will really lead to a manipulation. So that is where we call it a manipulation rather than a recommendation, because recommending an items which is of more importance to the providers rather than consumers will lead to a manipulation than a recommendation, right? It should be bias free. So more and more studies should be conducted to ensure that the recommender systems is free from any of the bias. And in general, rule of a thumb is the more you recommend, the better it is, right? Above the fold is better than below the fold, in the sense it is just a phrase which means that a recommender system recommendations should be in the beginning of the page rather than the bottom half of the page. For instance, you should not be sliding your web page to see the recommendations, rather it should be clearly visible in the front page so that you can make it for making quick decisions. A faster recommendation is better than a slower recommendation because users don't want to spend more time trying to make decisions. Rather, people spend less and less time before making any decisions in the site. So faster you make a recommendation, better the product sales would be. So these are certain rules of thumb has to be taken into consideration before we design any recommender systems. So certain references that we have considered before designing all these are this live book where we can get a practical recommender systems. Then to understand the concept of long tail, we have referred the systems, and there is really a conference which happens every year on recommender systems, where people get together and build a lot of recommender systems, which is at ACM conference. So those are all the sites where we can make a good reference to understand in detail about the recommender systems and the corresponding concepts. Do we have any further questions? And because this brings into our module 1 of recommender systems webinar.
Okay, so audience, any other questions? So as you know, this is part of our recommender system course series. While it's not a course yet, but this is the part of the preparation of the course, which Ramesh will launch later in few months. So this is first module 1 today. This recording will be available for our Prime and Lab members.
Hey, this is Krishna. One more question. Are we covering algorithms also here? Subsequent to this?
Yes, that is correct. So we will be covering the algorithm. So slowly we'll start with the non-personal recommendations, then we'll go for semi-personal, then personalized recommendations, where we'll be covering full-fledged all the algorithms.
Is it today, Ramesh? Is it now? You're going to do it today or as part of this session? Or is it coming on subsequent days?
No, it will be coming in subsequent modules, Krishna.
Yeah.
So we'll have a series of recommender webinars, which Ramesh will be
Okay.
conducting. So this is only the first one today, and this is as part of our course creation activity for recommender systems, which will launch end of this year. Okay.
Sure.
Any other
Thank you.
questions, audience? Any other questions? Okay, so thanks for joining, and we look forward to the next session in this series by Ramesh. Have a good day, and this recording will be provided to our Prime and Lab members.